Howdy everybody, how y'all doing? Welcome to the Guy's House. We try to keep things cool, calm, collected, and mostly a bit chill, right? You know what? What's more chill than a 3-day weekend, you know? Especially one that starts off with a big old birthday for this agent. Well, it's a pretty young country, honestly, right? 249 years isn't that old compared to all those guys over in Europe, but, you know, we're doing okay, I think. Maybe. I mean, we'll get there, right? But, point is, one of the cool things about, well, the 4th of July here, you know, it's a reason to celebrate. It's a reason to, well, you know, take responsibilities of some sorts and just set them aside for a little while, because it's not only encouraged, it's kind of suggested that, well, you take a break from something and you do something you want to do. It's something you can enjoy. And, well, a lot of other people are out there having fun because, well, like I said, it's kind of expected. And kind of, just like when you're rallying at your, you know, at the bottom of the 7th or 8th, right, or whatever sports analogy you want to make, and you're with all the people, and it's a home team, right, and everybody's having a good time, and on the same team. I mean, those are really good moments, and, well, that's kind of what we get when we get to have this big old party, right? And I mean, that kind of gets to where we're going with this, as you can tell from the title. But I remember when it was kind of status quo, standard issue to sit out and watch the fireworks and listen to the "I'm Proud to Be an American" play over the radio, right? And stereo. Blast your ears out if you're too close to the speakers, right? Because, well, it was a party, and maybe we weren't looking with rose-colored glasses, but we might have been looking with red, white, and blue-colored glasses, because you could probably get those at dollar store. Maybe even cheaper now because they might be on discount. Alright? But there was something about, well, being proud of, well, what we've accomplished and the freedoms that we have. And even if you don't agree with who's in power or who's president or who's in Congress, right? Certain decisions that were being made, there's still this whole thing of, well, I'm still thankful I'm here, right? Because there's still checks and balances, right? Because, I mean, the current president lost an election, and then he tried again, and he won that one, right? He didn't stick around and just stay as a dictator, and I don't think that's gonna happen, right? I think, like I said, there's still laws and checks and balances, and I don't like all the fear-mongering, and I don't like people just... I think the best way to put it is, it's one thing not to like a person, right? And there's one thing not to agree with the person, and there's another thing to disrespect the office and disrespect the government, because let me tell you, saying, I don't like that person, so I'm just going to do what I want, and you can't tell me what to do, it doesn't negate the rules that exist, and it doesn't negate the things that we've already accepted and agreed upon, right? I mean, how many of you guys, when you were in junior high or high school, right, you tried to tell the teacher because you didn't like him what you thought, and how many times you ended up in the principal's office, right? Because there's still a structure, and there's still sort of a status quo that needs to be maintained, right? Because we don't want just crazy go nuts, right? That would be terrible. So, yeah. Which kind of leads into, well, what I want to talk about, because whether you're proud to be an American today or not, you know, you still are one, right? I'm talking to the Americans, and so that kind of speaks to them. And there's ways to go about, and if you want change, there's a lot of ways to do that respectfully. And I would encourage you to be proactive about that, because if I didn't learn anything from the movie SLC Punk, other than why big mohawks are really, really cool, it's also that being a part of the system allows you to help change the system. And reinventing the system usually doesn't work. Not well at all. So, there's some food for thought there. But, going back to, what are you proud of, right? Because there's a lot of things in life, not a social identity, but certain things that we do that we're proud of, right? Certain achievements, certain maybe activities, right? Like anybody who's climbed Mount Everest is probably gonna write that down as something that they're proud of. You know, if they were in an interview for a job and like, well, tell me some achievement you're proud of, and you're like, I climbed Mount Everest, right? Wow, that's pretty cool. You know, or maybe you've had a hit song on the radio, or maybe it's, you know, for a lot of us, we maybe not have that, but maybe we got some of our art picked up, or maybe won an award because, you know, we had some sort of contest that we won, right? Or we won a raffle and we got something really, really cool. I mean, it could just be maybe sometime when you were young or old or something that there's a friend that never smiled, and one day you made him crack a smile just by being genuine, right? And that's a notch in the belt, right? It could be simple like that. And I also want to say this to all you guys out there on the internet. You know who you are, and you've seen what I'm talking about. But like, I think it's okay to be proud of things that happened in junior high, happened in high school, things that kind of defined who you were and defined the trajectory of your life. Like, I don't think it's good to peak before you're 18 and, you know, just kind of rely on those achievements to coast the rest of your life. But I think it's okay to use them as building blocks as we, you know, work through life and decide, okay, this is who I am, this is who I want to be, and these are the things that have helped me become, you know, motivate me and spurn me on, right? Whether it was somebody took an interest in you or certain things you did that just kind of worked out, right? A lot of inner moving parts, for sure. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people online that maybe do think they peaked in high school, and you could do better. I'm just saying, so can I. So yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to be proud of who we are. And I think one of the most important things is choosing the things that are positive, the things that we enjoy, the things that really matter to us, the things that we cherish are worth being proud of, right? And holding on to those, and not just pushing them off to the side so nobody gets to know and talk about it or hear about them, because, you know, if something that matters to us gets out in the open and people make fun of it, then we, you know, like when we were in junior high and we were mocked for something, we were pretending we don't like it for a decade and then realize how much time we lost because we let other people's opinions destroy and tear down who we are, right? Because, like I said, there's things that define us, and there's a lot of positive reasons to chase after things, and, you know, don't let the negative things define who you are and what you're chasing after, because I don't think we need any more relatable villains, right? I said it. I said it. And I'll kind of leave off with this, because one of the things I think is really cool in nature, right, when we talk about packs of different animals, like a murder of crows is a great one, a crash of rhinos, for me personally, you know, a waddle of penguins. But one of the things I've always loved, just because it evokes this regal and majestic image in my mind, and I think a lot of you guys too, is a pride of lions, right? Because, I mean, they earned their place on the food chain because they're just big, strong beasts, and there's something about them that seems poised and also dangerous, right? I mean, it's no coincidence that mythology, children's lore, and all this other stuff uses lions as a symbol in a lot of ways, right? So, I think they've definitely earned their place in the animal kingdom, and just as a pride of themselves. But one of the things I want to part ways with you, last parting thoughts. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is that not every lion is in the same pride, right? It's not just one big conglomerate, cohesive group of lions that just wanders around aimlessly as a pack, bickering with each other about deciding how they're going to define themselves or who they are. It's just one group and another group and another group, right? And I think one of the weird things about the war on language, or the attrition of language, or however you want to put it, is that when we try to define a group, an ideology, or something that's a whole lot harder to achieve or attain, in because we're not really homogenous as much as people want to be, and toting the party line doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna. Well, it's kind of interesting because there are certain groups and in-groups that people will compromise and bend over backwards to fit, even though they don't agree with everything, but they have to let these values define them when they really don't. But they have to. Well, they feel like they're in too deep, so they just have to be a part of it, right? And I think that's a misnomer, because I wouldn't call that a pride of anything. I mean, I think that's more of a compromise of a lot of things. Because as individuals, we have a lot to be proud of. But I like I said, I don't know if being caught up in a homogenous pride of people that may or may not be looking out for you or have your best interests at heart, or being a group so big, like, I'll throw it out there, maybe like a mega church in the South that doesn't know who you are, they're just looking for numbers, right? Is that really anything to be proud of, to be a part of, right? To get lost in the middle of it? I'd rather have my group of metaphorical lions, right? And I'm not just talking about Culture Casino because of his lovely mane and tail. I mean, mane of hair, right? That he goes around with, because anybody who walked around like that should, well, flaunt it if they got it, right? I'm gonna leave it at that, because I don't like getting into all the politics and all the one-to-one ratio of things. But I just want to say, there's a lot of things that are worth being proud of, and there's a lot of things worth defining yourself over. And, well, look at that trajectory, and it's good to check once around with checks and balances to see if you're going in that direction. Because people can change, and we can learn new things along the way if we're willing to, and not just set ourselves in a camp and saying, I'm going to let somebody else decide things for me. Because I may have already said this in this video, but like I said, I learned through the movie SLC Punk that Mohawks are cool, and you have to be part of the system, right? You have to work in it to change it. And being outside of something and trying to muscle and brute force, whether you're proud of who you are or what you are, or, want to be part of this group, it just, sometimes it doesn't work that well. So, I mean, I'm not saying don't question things. I'm not saying don't be a skeptic. But, good to have the checks and balances, because there's offices, and like we celebrated yesterday, there's no King Day, right? At least here in the United States. So that's all I got. And well, let me know what you think down in the comments. If I said too much, if I said too little, well, let me know. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye!